Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. Orengo is warning Raila ODM battalion against moves that will actually question Sifuna exit from the party. But Gladys Wanga's desperate attempt to frame Kasipul by-election as a survival political lifeline for Odinga could actually show how ODM is desperately trying to win back their support base since they found themselves in some very unfamiliar territory, courtesy of the broad-based agreement with Raila, with President William Ruto. And in this podcast, we'll also explain to you Calebamisi's statement on ODM exit and what this really means for the party, why ODM is struggling. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and like our videos. We are taking a challenge of improving the curve. 6 out of 10 people that click our videos have either subscribed or are subscribing. 4 out of 10. So are you amongst the 4 or you amongst the other 6? So kindly take a step and subscribe to our channel. Subscription is absolutely free. And the beauty of our podcast here is, unlike other people who run with flashy headlines without content or rather very good research done, here we settle down, we show you the faces, the figures, the facts, and how it all happened. Our reporting is the different approach. Calebamisi is warning ODM party that they have until 2026 for them to break ties with President Ruto, since any sort of continued dalliance with the ruling coalition or the ruling party is going to occasion exodus of the young voices from within the party who really feel that it is time for it to chart a different path. And in this podcast, in this podcast, I want us to listen to Calebamisi.
We have told ODM that its continued dalliance with the regime has a lifespan, and the lifespan is next year. That beyond March 2026, if ODM continues working with the brutal Ruto regime, then some of us will say bye-bye to the party that we once loved. But if they step back, retrace their foot, they go back to their principles, and they start on the journey of revamping and saving the nation, we will be with them. Because the ODM is no longer speaking the language of the people. The people were excited with ODM all over because ODM was speaking the language of the people. Now ODM has gone into bed with the government. It has left the Kenyans in the hands of Caleb and the rest. And that's why the ODM is not getting attraction from those areas. You've seen the other day an MCA literally returned his ticket for ODM. And he was trying to pass a message that please do not associate me with ODM. Otherwise, he could have gotten that ticket and hid it under the bed and they went to another party and got it. But he was passing a message that I was once an ODM. Please delink me from that party. You've seen Malava, a constituency that ODM has predominantly, perennially fielded candidate. But this time round, nobody came for the certificate. Even the activities where you hear ODM in Nyanza, it is chaos. People are just fighting. So we are saying this is a wake-up call to the party, that you must track back your foot back to the people, or else the party may only have 1 or 2 ODM members elected. It will become like Kanu. Since Moi left power, KANU has never managed more than 5 people. The threshold for KANU members of parliament, their PG, their threshold is 5 members. Ikipita hapo chama inapasuka. That's how far they can go. So ODM, you are also coming to the threshold of KANU. If you are not careful, mitafika mahali you have only 10 or 15 members maximum. Nikipita hapo chama inapasuka.
I think this Caleb Amisede belongs to that group. They call themselves, if my memory serves me right, they call themselves Kenya Moja. But exclusive, let me tell you, Kenya Moja is a registered political party. You can go and do your research. The person who registered Kenya Moja is Beatrice Wanjiru. Not Beatrice, Margaret Wanjiru. Bishop Margaret Wanjiru, who, the son to Bishop Margaret Wanjiru, who at one point was vying for Mathare North parliamentary seat. And some of the people behind the Kenya Moja, exclusively, this one you will not find anywhere, but if you go to political, if you do your own digging, you will establish this is the fact. And maybe let me tell you, that is why you are seeing Babu is very lukewarm on that Kenya Moja. And Babu has gone for Dennis Waweru to be running it because Babu, Bishop Margaret Wanjiru wants to vie for Nairobi governor's seat through Kenya Moja. And Babu Wino is also contemplating that if he's not given ODM a ticket, he might go for that. So I've given you some tea, maybe something that you didn't know. So that is, and Caleb Amisi is part of it. That is why you are seeing it's not very stable. They're not the original owners of that. But it is a registered party. In fact, they have presented a candidate in one of these by-elections. And in by-election in Ugunja, in the by-election in Magarini, and the by-election in Mbere, those 2 areas, those 3 areas, they have candidates. They're fielded candidates. Except I saw some members of that Kenya Moja campaigning for Boyd in Kasipul today. Now, today, just to show you, I want to demonstrate to you the different voices coming from the party. James Orengo warned the ODM battalion that the party risks losing a very critical asset in the name of Edwin Sifuna if the current democratic process within the party is not handled well.
How are you reconciling that with the new energy that's coming up? For example, the Secretary General is quite vocal just about how it needs to shift and evolve from what it is now, what you've described it. How is ODM reconciling that new energy?
I don't think it's a question of reconciling because he's still the Secretary General. And by the way, in terms of all these parties, I think ODM has got a Secretary General. If you ask you who's the Secretary General of these other parties, it'll take you a little time to remember who they are. He's a wonderful individual, and it'd be a great loss not to have Sifuna as Secretary General. That's how dynamic the party is, because in a lot of political parties, you have formations, you have caucuses. In the United States Democratic Party, it has caucuses, including the Black Caucus is generally they belong to the Democratic Party, save for 1 or 2 in the Republican Party. So I think ODM is not a party that belongs to the praise and worship kind of formation, because you've got elements who can speak up and say the truth to power. Just in as much as we are partly in government, I don't think now we can say there's a donation. I think the proper thing to say is that we we are we're in government, but not structurally. Yeah, there's the coalition is not a coalition, because coalitions you have to have something more as opposed to an arrangement. Yeah.
I see leadership of the ODM. So we have a young, full Secretary General. If we look at the three deputy party leaders now, we have the governor of Kisii, the senator of Higa, the governor of Mombasa as the Secretary General, as the deputy party leaders. Do you think this party, as you sit back and look at ODM at 20, can it survive ODM minus Raila, Orengo, and Anyang' Nyong'o?
I think that depends on what we do, and that will depend on what the party is. If we keep it to be a progressive movement and a party for the broad masses of the people, then it can survive. If it's a party that is based on individuals, based on some personalities, then ODM may not really survive the test of time and be a great party to even celebrate its centenary like ANC has done in South Africa. So the question of the core ethos or ideology of the party is very important. And people must continue, even ODM must continue to talk about what are our principles, what is our blueprint, political blueprint, that makes it a unique and distinct party. Take the great leader we have in terms of party leadership. But, is every ordinary member of ODM able to talk about what is the party principles,
Right.
what is its ideology? I think there we still have some work to do. I don't know whether, what happened in Tanzania, during Mwalimu Nyerere. They used to have a very important member of the executive in charge of ideology, some of the best brains. So that in as much as Tanzania was one party, there were some fundamental principles.
The viciousness of the party ranks against the Sifuna risk ending the future of the ODM party. And my governor, who I'm a bit disappointed, Governor Orengo, because of how goons are attacking doctors who are striking in Siaya, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good, my governor. You really need to do something. Even one of my friends, I was so hurt. I saw one of guy tulisoma na yeye high school. He was amongst the team were protesting na alipigwa na goons sana. And the response of the security agencies within the county was not very convincing. And that's why someone will actually look that there's some unholy alliance between the police and probably the county, the security agencies and the county. And so this is what he was saying. Nevertheless, this is what he was saying about Sifuna. Now, you will understand that at this point, something is happening, something unusual is happening. And it is the ease of people facing Odinga and facing the party and telling them, this is what it is. We are making this direction. No, this was never there. This was never there. Hii kitambo ulikuwa unajaribu hivi ushatolewa. Kisii MPs who were elected through ODM are all behind Batiangi, led by Senator Onyonka. ODM has never uttered any word. In fact, even Omogeni, the senator from Nyamira, is pro Matiangi. ODM has never made any attempt or uttered any word on them as rebels. And the observation by Orengo is of course something that has to be seen, because Sifuna represents a section of the party that really feels that even though things are not, we are still there, but things are not happening right. Now, today, Boyd Were the ODM candidate from Homa Bay was presenting his papers to IBC. Of course, this was the day that all the aspirants were taking. All the aspirants. And ODM party has structures. I want you to pay attention to what happened in Kasipul. Boyd Were, the son of Omondo Were, is facing Philip Aroko, the Otete man. And Otete is really proving to be a very big competitor. He's giving ODM a run for their money. So the whole ODM leadership, starting with the chairperson of the party, Gladys Wanga, Secretary General Edwin Sifuna, one of the deputy party leaders, Swamad Nasir from Mombasa, they all pitched tent there to campaign for Boyd, as Boyd was taking his papers. Remember, ODM has a candidate in Magarini. Abdul Swamad Nasir, who is from Mombasa, ordinarily would have probably escorted the Magarini candidate in Kilifi. Then maybe Simbarati to accompany the candidate was in Ugenya, Moses. And then the chairperson or maybe the other, or even Osotsi would have been in another place. But ODM is trembling about Kasipul. And in fact, the right word here is they are struggling. And I want to show you they are struggling. A by-election in a tiny constituency in Kasipul has now been amplified. And I heard through my own ears, Wanga saying that, you know, the fight in Kasipul is now a Raila's fight. That, you know, this is a Raila lifeline. And he's telling the voters that they need to vote for Boyd because wasipompigia wataibisha Odinga, and some enemies of Odinga have already planted people to make sure that ameza kushindwa. Now, let me tell you, I did analysis and I told you that in Luo Nation, they have created the enemy, the hate object. You know, that is their shortcut to finding their way to those seats. They have picked out Rigathi Gachagua as the hate object. And I agree with those who are saying that even that press statement of dragging Rigathi's name, it thrived on Rigathi ndo tunataka tumchukie, Rigathi ndo tunataka tumuongelee. And it had to be done so that they project Rigathi to the Luo electorate as the enemy. Wanga, instead of really framing the by-election within that constituency, he's saying it is Raila's lifeline. And so you can see that is a desperate attempt. He's saying two things. That number, he's mentioning Rigathi, and the other one, I don't know, something on Raila. And that
Kaito jogyo guy, tonego guy. Othoka guoke in Nairobi. Wod mumbo. Oninde bade. Joma no pango nekne. No pango ni mondo nyawangayo ngatiende. Mondo tiende orume ikasipulka. To nok ging'eyo ni pindra ne ng'ata chiel, lakini pindra ne ng'enye gwenge ka. Jowa moa e polling stations te mosebet manosechung' kodwa te. Aneno kodagi moyumo gi piny ni ng'ama nyalo ng'ado tie nyawang'aya onge kata di kata chiel. Omiyo koro sani nawacho nuni an nadgombo ni mondo jowa madwaro no yiero dhi e nomination. Mondo gidhi e welo, mondo dhi owalgi. Kose walgi, to ng'ama chamo walo, abro biro ka mondo achungo mondo bed mjumbe ma Kasipul. Chama nyo welo, mo walo Boyd Were. Nyo nena chieng' welo ka, bene abiro ka, bene abire polling stations, bene abiro gwacho nune yieruru ng'ane kata ng'ane, na onge ka. Une manudhi polling stations muwalo ni Boyd Were mondo bedi. Kawuono chama mangima nika. Nikech Boyd koro ken Boyd. Boyd koro ene wang Raila Odinga. Kendo Boyd koro en ODM. Kendo lweny ma koro go Boyd, koro kumar Boyd. Lweny ma go Boyd en lweny ma go Raila Odinga. Nikech uneno kaka jokanye wuoyo marach ewi baba. Ne giwacho no rumo en ng'ama nono be ni ok gin bacteria kata kinang'o. Ni winjo kaka giwuoyo ga chaye. Lweny ma go Boyd sani en lweny mochimo baba tir. Mondo kogore piny kasipul ka. To koro dhi owach no kine ka Raila rumo nyaka dier ode. Unyalo yie ni mano mondo timre. Unyalo yie ni mano mondo timre. Lweny masani koro chomo Boyd Were. Ok en mar Boyd. Lweny koro en mar Nyawang'aya. Ochom Nyawang'aya gi lweny ni Nyawang'aya nyaka tieki e yo mabei ka.
I can tell you that they're already feeling the pressure. So they've taken there the sympathy card. Remember, unaona hata hii sickness, the reason why ODM secretariat was making those shenanigans, it was because they were trying to manufacture sympathy, and this sympathy was supposed to be hawked to voters amidst these by-election campaigns. And they were very strategic. The by-elections papers, it wasn't a later, so the campaigns are starting officially, like from tomorrow, from 8th, which was actually today. So that is why all that was brought. And you can read between the lines. The moment you see politicians telling you, you need to vote for Omondi because Omondi has been sent by Gachagua, or you need to vote for Kamau because Kamau has been, you need to vote for Kamau because Wachira has been sent by Raila. Just to know hawa wamefika mwisho. And I've looked at how Tete is campaigning, Philip Aroko. Hey, this is only, I want to do a small poll for people from Kasipul or people from Homa Bay. Who is going to win that seat? Who is going to win that seat? I'm seeing ODM spending time with a lot of insults and abuses on political opponents. And I'm wondering, Otete is not an opposition candidate. Otete is an independent candidate. But I saw them pitching tent there to hurl all manner of insults to Rigathi, and they were so reckless. They spoke in Doluo, so some of you may not get it. But they really hurled insults, some very unprintable and unprinted words, unprintable words that cannot even mention. So that is trying now to go emotional manipulation of voters. I can tell you. And I normally say, hey, there are people who do not even think that Raila can be out of the picture. I think this is what I see. I did analysis on Magarini. People did not scramble for that party ticket. They are struggling in Kasipul, a constituency yenye ilikuwa ODM iliwin, na huko ndio I think kama ni broad based iko huko ndio kama broad based ilikuwa huko ndio headquarters ya broad based. Huko hao ndio wanajua broad based ni nini. And ODM is actually struggling. I've seen the coloring, the branding, ODM at 20, and money seemed to have been poured through that. Emotional manipulation of the voter by some political, monopoly of ideology is going to kill that party. It's going to kill that party. This is because the fact that ODM has been in existence for the last 20 years and it has not produced a president. The narrative that Raila never want to be president is sinking. And there are people who can clearly read, including myself, that what Odinga clothes as statesmanship, He will want to clothe it as, bringing development to our people. He will want to clothe it with several other narratives. In the long run, it clearly appears like just someone running for personal fortune. Because I don't believe, and no, I believe this. It should not be precatory of, like we have to sit down and have a handshake for that to be done, this to be done, that to be done. See, there are two projects going on. There is Kufunika Stadium, alafu kuna some level 6 hospital, I think inajengwa. I think it was in CIDP, the county annual budget, integrated budget. So it's not be like it has to be like a handshake for all that to happen. With just a very clear governance structure and the system that works, it can deliver development to every part of the country. And why am I saying it's personal fortune? And I've had a couple of MPs talking about it. I've had a couple of people talking about it. That's why I'm telling you that monopoly ideology will really will make ODM outlive its own significance. There are a host of leaders from Duo Nation, from Lakeside, who keeps on saying, we came to government, then we brought equity. Now, after saying that, they will count how many roads I don't have set aside for which county, for there. But somebody will go to Kakamega. I've never seen him in Kakamega explaining how many roads is set aside for Kakamega. Going to Turkana, explaining how much is going there. So the issue of it, what they clothe as equity, into some areas, ODM is shitting off. And in fact, by 2027, sorry to say this, but if they don't tread very careful, when you attend your ticket, watatoka huko. Only us will go for that ticket down there. The other parties will emerge, and it will give it a very difficult run. Number 3, and that is the other observation I've made on this. I think the absence of Odinga has created panic. There is a big panic. Big panic. In fact, I need to say this. I've heard the speeches from Kasipul. I've seen Otete campaign, Aroko campaigning. Let me ask, do you think it is in the interest of William Ruto for ODM to win Kasipul? How does ODM benefit if ODM wins or rather ODM loses? If ODM loses that seat to an independent candidate, that helps Ruto bargain, tell them that you guys want a deputy president, but the other time in your own backyard, you could not even deliver the MP. So this candidate is there. And there seems to be some panic. And let me say it, probably, guys, Raila pasipoenda Kasipul kucampaign, sidhani, ODM might be shocked. They might end up with that one seat in Ugenya. Ile nao ni yao. That's why that's my mini urban. There, my in-laws come from there, so I get raw feedback from my in-laws, and even the candidate comes from that lineage. So they might end up with the Ugenya seat. Kasipul, Raila asipoenda. I've seen them shouting, seething, and hurling those insults and trying to bring in, some of them are trying to bring in the issue of the rivalry between the Letong Ondowere and Aroko. And those things, those narratives are not they will not be counterproductive for the ODM candidate, because people start asking, hey, nyinyi mnatuambia hii. Sasa when you walikufa before. They're trying to revive those old wounds. And the kind of anger and insults and name calling going on in Kasipul, I'm a bit more curious. I've not had Good Life, Philip Aroko, attacking the other candidate. In fact, if you ask my standpoint is this, I don't have a problem, and I personally support Boyd Were. as a youth that is ambitiously going for that seat. And I've seen him, I've seen his charisma, I've seen him go out to campaign. But the ODM cloth is a very dirty one.